everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today, I'm super excited to be getting this video out to you. This is kind of an extra video for the week, and it happens to be a collab with one of my friends, Helen, from What Helen Reads. She's an amazing booktuber, and I'm so excited that we kind of came up with this idea to do this collab video together. So let's quickly get started. Okay guys, so in this collaboration video, basically me and Helen kind of came together because we wanted to celebrate our 2-year booktube anniversary. We actually both started our booktube in January of 2023. So I kind of was in the beginning or middle of January, hers was more towards the end, but we thought it'd be kind of fun idea to do something together to kind of celebrate that. So we decided that we want to kind of like give each other a couple of our favorites from 2023 and 2024 to read. So in this video, I'm actually going to be reading a couple books that were some of Helen's favorites, and then she's going to read a couple books from my favorites in her video. So please make sure you go check out her video and check out her channel. I will link her video down below. So make sure you go give it some love, give it a like, go view that video because you're going to want to see the books that I recommended her and to see her reactions because I was like really nervous to see what she's going to think of my picks. So if you have never gone to What Helen Reads, please go check out her channel and subscribe. She has amazing content. And I can tell you, like, if you like my kind of style or my taste in romance books, you're going to love Helen because she does read a lot of like mafia. She has like Mafia Monday stuff that she does. She reads dark romance, a lot of like the same stuff as me. So I definitely want you to head over to her channel, give her a like, give her a subscribe, and show her the love. And you'll want to see my recs that she read. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to have Helen kick this off right now with her first rec.
Hi Amber, thank you so much for inviting me to join your channel. If you're watching this video and you don't know who I am, I'm Helen from What Helen Reads. Now Amber and I have both been on YouTube for 2 years, so we're both celebrating our 2-year anniversary, and also we do like to read very similar books. We both enjoy dark romances and mafia romances as well. Of course, we do read very different books, but we like the same kind of tone and style of books. So we thought it'd be great fun to recommend 2 of our favourite books from the last 2 years and then basically compare our opinions about those books. So from 2023, the book that I'm going to recommend is this one, which is Broken by the Horde King from Zoey Draven, because I know Amber has started this series. She hasn't finished it yet, but she really wants to. And this was one of my favourite books from 2023, like I said, and also my favourite in this series. So this is kind of an alien sci-fi romance. This is set on the planet of Dakari. On this planet there are a number of different sort of tribes, and each tribe is headed up by a king, basically a Vorakar, who is kind of king of that particular horde. And in this particular book we are following Kiran and Maeve, and these two are kind of friends to enemies to lovers. They've known each other since childhood, and this is very much a romance between this couple. Now I'm not going to say too much more about this book because I want to let Amber read it for herself, and of course she's going to explain to you a little bit more about it if you personally haven't read this one. But why I really like this one is because I really felt the connection and the emotion between this couple, and in particular Maeve is left a little bit heartbroken at the start of this book, and so her heartbreak is absolutely palpable, and the pining between this couple was tangible. Like you could really feel it and sense it on the page. So I'm going to leave you now with Amber. She's going to explain more about it, and hopefully she's going to love it just as much as I did.
Okay, so with Broken by the Horde King, I really loved this book, and I thought it was a definite improvement from like the previous book. I think it was like Madness of a Horde King. I thought that was just decent, but this one had so much more to it. And this is actually between Kieran and Maeve. And what I thought was really unique about this was that they were actually best friends. So this is like a best friend, childhood friends to lovers type of thing. Kind of a second chance because they never really got together, so it's not fully second chance. But I really like this because they actually grew up in the same community together. It's like this seaside, like they're right against the cliffs of the ocean. It's a really like nice community. He's kind of considered the prince. And he's going to end up going away to become a Horde King, and he becomes one of the best Horde, youngest, I think it was. I can't fully remember, but Horde Kings. But they started out as friends. Now, she is a human. She was, they found her like adoptive parents found her like abandoned, like, or maybe the parents had died. We don't know what ever happened. But they found her outside the village and they took her in and raised her as their own. They love her so much. They love her as one of their own children. But she did get really bullied a lot because she was like the only human in the village. And this one, it's like she's the only human. And so she was really picked on. She didn't talk for a long time because of that. But Kieran really like came to her rescue a few times and they became like fast friends, best friends. So this romance is between them, and it is sad. It is heartbreaking because, Maeve really falls in love with him and wants to be with him. And he has to go away at a pretty young age multiple times because he's going to train and do all these tests to become a Horde King. And so she ends up doing this thing where she lets him know how she feels. And he basically kind of rejects her in front of everybody. And it was devastating for her. And then she kind of throws herself out there for him again when they're in privacy, like their private time. And he again rejects her. And she feels like he's disgusted by her because she's a human. And her heart is just broken. And so he ends up leaving to go become a Horde King. And so I think it's about 10 years. Yeah, 10 years later, he has returned. His horde actually needs a healer, and she's been training as a healer, but they won't fully give her that full status yet because she's a human. This other guy is going to get it before her. So that's really frustrating for her because she's very passionate about being a healer, and this is like her true calling. She put all her devastation and everything into being a healer. And so now he needs a healer for his horde, and he basically is calling her to come with him. And so there's a lot of drama, a lot of angst because she feels very betrayed by him, very hurt from him. She really shut down her emotions towards him where she would refuse to feel anything about him anymore. And so he's got a lot to make up for. So if you love a good grovel, this book is amazing. Like he really grovels. He had his reasons for why he kind of pushed her away and couldn't be with her. But he has now come to the realization that she is meant to be his queen. She's meant to be his. And so he's wanting to do anything it takes to make that happen. And so he's kind of having her come be a healer on his horde. But really, his end goal is to have her with him. So I really loved this. I think it had the perfect amount of like slow burn, groveling, like really sweet moments, good communication. They really talked through everything. And you just really feel that these two were meant to be together. And I think it's one of the best like friends to lovers because to me, this was friends to lovers. They were friends as kids. Yes, he broke her heart and she was not friends with him anymore when he comes back into the picture. But it was just very sweet. It was a lot of mutual pining. So it's giving you all those feels that, is taking you to a more emotional place than I think the other books did. So I definitely see why Helen loved this one. She did say that, like she said in the previous video, that it was like her favorite in the series. I have not finished the rest of the series, so I don't know yet, but I think it will be. I don't know. I still loved the first one, but I think it was because I had never read one like this, and it was like, I really liked it. But you know, just like she said, there was so much more emotion. They had great connection together. So I completely agree with everything that Helen said about this because it was very good. It took me a little bit longer to read it, but that was the case for February. I was really having a hard time getting through books. So that's not this book's fault. It's a me thing. So it did take me a couple days to get through it, but it was so good. So if you haven't read this series, I definitely recommend it. This one's the 4th book. So, you know, you could go in and not have read the other ones, but I think the whole series is good. So you should pick it up. So that was a good first start. I ended up giving that one 5 stars. So definitely a good first start for Helen's Recs. So let me go ahead and we're going to go back to Helen for her second rec.
So we're moving on to 2024, and one of my favourite mafia romances of last year was this one here, which is Sweet Prison by Neva Altaj, and this is book 10 in her Perfectly Imperfect series. Now, if you love mafia romances and you've not read Neva Altaj before, then I highly encourage you to do so because she is one of my favourite mafia authors, and I've read absolutely everything from her so far, and her books just keep getting better and better. And this one was her latest release. It came out in December, and it is one of my favourites of the series so far. And yeah, I just highly recommend this one to Amber, but also anyone else out there who loves a mafia romance. This is a Cosa Nostra romance. It's a romance between Massimo and Sahara. They are actually step siblings, but it's not as taboo as it sounds. Massimo has been in prison for quite some time, and Zahara has been writing to him in prison, so they've been pen pals of sorts, and this book really follows their relationship while he's in prison and while they're writing to each other, and then what happens when he finally comes out of prison. And that's all I'm going to say about this one. Like the last book, I'm going to hand you now over to Amber. I'm sure she'll explain more about it, and I really do hope that she loves this one just as much as I do.
Okay, guys, so now on to the second rec, which was Sweet Prison, as Helen said. This one, if you've already watched my channel, I've gone over these books in my weekly wrap-ups, but here I'm really gonna lay it on because Sweet Prison, just like Helen said it was a favorite in the series it's the Perfectly Imperfect series. It's book number 10, and she said it was her favorite. It is my favorite as well. This one, I love Neva Altaj's series. It is fantastic. If you are into mafia, pick it up. If you want an intro to mafia, pick up this series because each book gets better and better. You can really see Neva is like just improving on her writing so much in each book, because each book, like, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite, and then another one comes and she blows it out of the park. So for this one, it was my favorite as well. Like, I freaking loved it. This was the epitome of like angst and slow burn and mutual pining, and I was feeling it. Like, I loved this book so much. Now, like Helen said, it is a step sibling romance, but it's not as taboo, just like she said, because honestly, Massimo went to prison when she was like 3 or something, and so he didn't really know her. He didn't spend a lot of time with her, and so it's not like creepy like he watched her grow up type of thing. So it's not as taboo as you would think, but it does have that element of like forbiddenness, because especially with mafia being very old school and strict and the way they do things, like they would not view kindly on him being with his stepsister. They would frown upon that and treat her pretty badly. So anyways, so this romance is between Massimo and Zahara, and Massimo, I think he went to prison for 18 years, and he went to prison because he actually killed the man that killed her brother. It was his stepbrother, but they were really close, and he really cared about his stepbrother. And when this guy killed him, he reacted pretty violently in front of a lot of people, which wasn't the wisest decision, but he acted pretty rashly, and he went to prison. Now, they pretty much had this judge in their pocket. So they thought he would get like the minimum sentence, but they basically throw the book at him because he thinks, okay, well, maybe something's going on behind the scenes. And we also can kind of figure out somebody's setting this up because this judge wouldn't have gone against the Cosa Nostra. He's in their pocket. So why would he give him the hardest sentence? So he's pretty infuriated. Now, his stepfather is the one that's going to be kind of running the Cosa Nostra while he is in prison. But that's really just for image. Massimo is making all the decisions behind the scenes. His stepfather would come visit him in prison and he would get the lowdown from him. So how things happen with him and Zahara was really interesting because when she's a little bit older, she's still a young kid, like a kid or whatever, but she had an assignment to write letters to like a family member. And so she decided to write to Massimo. And at first, he didn't really acknowledge her letters, and she just kind of kept writing him. And she didn't really have a lot to say. She's a kid, so she would tell him random things. And then she would slip in things that kind of were about her dad. And he would see that it was different from what he was told. So he realized he has a good source here to get the behind-the-scenes stuff going on. So he kind of enlists Zahara to be his spy of her father. And she honestly is not coerced into this. She wants to help him. And so she does spy on her dad. She can go into his office, go through his documents, all that kind of stuff. And so they have their own secret code when they're writing their letters together. And so they really build this close friendship through the letters. Now, eventually, I will say you have to read the previous book, which was number 9. I think it was Darkest Sins. That one was another amazing book, but that's her sister's romance. And a lot of the stuff that's going on in this overlap with that. So you do need to read that one first before you read this one. But stuff happens and the father ends up being killed. And so they're having a funeral for him. And they actually let Massimo attend the funeral because sometimes they do that. And so he shows up to the funeral and he sees Zahara for the first time. And she's 18 now. And she's gorgeous. And he is very uncomfortable with his feelings for her. And she feels like he kind of ignored her and wanted to just talk to her sister. And so she felt very kind of betrayed. But what ends up happening is he's going to make her sister marry this other guy so that the control will still be with them through her sister. And so she's upset with that. She meets with him. All this stuff goes on, but they end up communicating for another few years of his sentence. But now this time, the letters are a lot more intimate and emotional, and they're really in love with each other. They're falling in love with each other through letters. So by the time that Massimo is released and she's going to live with him in this forced proximity situation, these two are in love. They're already in love, but they haven't got to the physical part yet. But Massimo is pushing it away and refusing to go there because he doesn't want her to have a horrible life and be treated and ostracized by the mafia community. So, he's kind of fighting his feelings. But this man has a lot of trauma from prison. He's very quick to anger. He has this inner voice that's his almost split personalities type. It's not split personalities, but it's his darker urges, and it talks to him because he used to get thrown in solitaire all the time. So that was really interesting. But they're longing for each other, and just even this, which was amazing. It gave me what I love with historical romance, which is the longing, the quiet longing, and the slight hand touches, or just anytime they briefly touch each other, it's magnetic and amazing. And so that was giving me that historical romance longing, slight hand touch vibes in a mafia romance. And it blew me away. I couldn't believe that it was like that in a mafia romance. So I was so in love with this story. I love the angst. I love the step siblings. The sex was insane. These two had amazing connection. It was more emotional, and I just loved it. So this is my favorite Neva Altaj so far. And it's book number 10 in that series. So it's pretty crazy that she's still able to write really, really good books in that series. So I did give this one 6 stars. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. I was blown away. I loved it. So big thank you to Helen, because I have been meaning to read this one. And I knew it was going to be good, but I'm so blown away by this 6-star read. Loved it. So big thank you to Helen for doing that rec for me. Okay, so those were Helen's picks for me. I think it went really well. I'm very nervous for hers because I did recommend a historical, and I don't think she reads a lot of historicals, so we'll see how that goes. But thank you so much for watching this. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed to my channel. For those of you that keep returning, I appreciate your support and you being here with me for this journey. 2 years on BookTube, it's pretty amazing. I'm still having a great time on BookTube. Love this community. Make sure you head over to Helen's channel. I will link that video down below, because you're going to want to see the recs that I gave her and what her reactions were. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys on the next one.